Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Lily Leaf 11. Today I'm super excited. I have Dina Beren here. Hi.
Hello, hello. So happy to be here, Josie.
So, Dina is an intuitive guide, tarot reader, and certified life coach with over 25 years of experience, helping people reconnect with their inner wisdom and authentic path. So, through tarot, numerology, astrology, and intuitive insight, she helps people understand their timing, their patterns, and the deeper meaning behind what they're experiencing. So her work supports those waking up to themselves, finally. It feels like we're all waking up to ourselves. We're questioning old identities, yes, outgrowing roles, yes, and seeking more alignment, yes. I got all those ticks. Dina
Those
believes Dina believes intuition is universal and can be trusted. So, and she's also an author of The Way Within, Igniting Your Intuition with Sacred Tools, and you work with clients worldwide through readings, coaching, and teachings. Wow. Woo!
Yeah.
Amazing. I was like, yep, tick. That's what I'm still working on. Tick. We're all a work in progress. Who is perfect? I always say perfect is boring.
Well, there is no such thing as perfection. And I feel like, you are perfectly imperfect, and that's how it should be.
Exactly. I love it. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. So I thought I might ask, sometimes the question we get sometimes is when we are intuitive, like everybody is intuitive, but did it begin at did it begin at birth? Did you recognize it? Did you recognize it when you were younger, or did you have this awakening? Boom, wow, epiphany. Wow, I can do this. Or did you have, I think I heard you say a grandmother that had
Yes.
insights as well. So,
Yeah. Well, my story, so yes, my grandmother was very instrumental in introducing me just to divination in general. She was very interested in astrology, and she would talk about people as if they were their astrological signs. So instead of saying, oh, God, that person is so stubborn, she's like, there's that Taurus doing it again, or kind of thing. Like she would kind of call out the trait, and I would be kind of like walking around with like a metaphorical clipboard trying to take notes to keep up with. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? But I feel as though it really whet my appetite to being aware of other people. And, with all of these modalities that I work with, what I'm looking for is patterns. I always look to see like what keeps showing up. And I feel as though astrology was an excellent start because I began to see certain patterns showing up in certain zodiac signs. You begin to notice this thing. So how it all started for me was basically her education with that. But I've always been curious. I've always been interested in what is happening beneath that shiny surface that we show the world. So when my grandmother introduced me to this concept, I started becoming more aware of people. And while it may be hard to imagine, but when I was younger, I was shy and I wasn't always kind of in the mix. So what I would do is I would be a little bit off on the sidelines and I would watch people. I would observe them. And sometimes the way people act when they're in a group or how they act when they're alone, one on one with you, would sometimes be different. I would notice that. And I would get feelings about that. I'm like, this person doesn't seem to be consistent. This person doesn't seem to be what they advertise themselves as, kind of thing. So I started to just become aware of people. And that only grew as I grew up and I went to college and I started working. And actually, because I was in a job, I have a degree in exercise physiology and I worked first I worked in corporate fitness, but that I left there, made a jump to a hotel gym where it was open 24/7, like hotels are open 24/7. And I realized that if I didn't find a way to escape, meaning like a class or something that I could do after work hours, that I was never going to see the light of day again because I just worked all the time when I was at that gym. And one night when I was leaving work, I found a flyer and the flyer advertised intro to tarot. And that was the beginning. So my grandmother introduced it to me, but my job in fitness, where I was like, I got to get a class, I found this intro to tarot and it literally changed my life. So maybe I had an interest from the early on, but I really connected to it once I started taking that tarot class.
Amazing. Yeah, I was tuning into your tarot and the guides were showing me how you've done this so many times before. You know, it's not it's something that you're learning in this lifetime, but you already know it. As you know, that weird thing of, I already knew that, but I'm almost learning how the energy forms within the tarot and the tarot cards. And yeah, it was so interesting how the guides were showing me how it was working, how you were almost relearning it, but you already knew it from what we would call past lives or parallel lives. Yeah, super interesting. I love that. And yeah, no, I'm finding a lot of people are kind of blaming a lot of astrology and things at the moment and numerology and this kind of saying, this is a Mercury's in retrograde, so that's why I'm so, angry. Or my yoga teacher was kind of like, yeah, I spilt red wine and I yelled at my husband because Mercury was in retrograde, and I was like, I mean, I think it's a great excuse sometimes of why we've got stuff going on. We can look at all these things, but then, do you feel like it's good for us to take responsibility as well so we can see why things might be happening, and then take responsibility of, well, I actually needed extra sleep, or I actually needed a bit more fun, or I needed grounding, I needed to get into alignment. So these things are kind of, there's all these signs around us that are showing us what's going on, but we're like so busy, kind of blaming everything else. So yeah, there's kind of a fine line. Do you think of
Well,
yeah,
I think yeah, well, first of all, I do wanna say that, yes, Mercury was retrograde, and we are still in the shadow period, so I'm not saying that Mercury is not responsible for something, but you know what they say in Mercury retrograde, you gotta do the RE, you gotta do the you gotta revisit, reassess, to kind of like, you gotta recheck, you gotta, just cross your T's, dot your I's, and double check so things don't fall through the cracks. So, if you know it's Mercury retrograde, slow down kind of thing. And I think that that's very hard for people to do. And in addition to the just Mercury retrograde, there we had just had, we the spring equinox, and we just moved into Aries season. And there's just every major planet is changing signs. It's just there's a lot going on. Plus, just all the things that are going on in the world politically, and with war, and just everybody feels a lot of upheaval and uncertainty. And I think that we are all a little bit on edge because a lot of things feel very bumpy right now. And it's easy to blame it on Mercury. Mercury gets a lot, or the full moon, or whatever it is. I feel like the moon and Mercury get a lot of heat. And but what it is maybe is it is a sign. It's a little bit of if you're paying attention and you see the stop sign, don't just blow by it. Stop and check in with yourself. So this is an opportunity. If you feel all these things pulsing through you, instead of looking for somewhere to blame it, I invite you, and I mean the collective you, like the we, all of us, to pay attention, slow down, and say, what's this all about?
yeah, definitely. I'm totally with you. And, year 9 kind of ending, and you kind of like number 1. So much with everything with that kind of ending, there's just so much purging, so much releasing, so much clearing going on. It's super exciting because we're finally starting to observe like what is going on there's obviously a lot going on in the outside world, but it's actually pushing us within as well to observe what's going on, what our inner state, our inner being is. So then we can finally kind of stop blaming everything else and say, okay, well, this is happening. Yes, it is the end of a cycle. This is happening here, there. But we can kind of say, well, what's going to help me? What's going to really release my old patterns and just get me back into alignment with my true self? Because we're in this reality where we've kind of leveled up in the game. The game was just this steady kind of game that was just kind of moving, no, I wouldn't say smoothly, but still a roller coaster ride. But we've all leveled up. So now we've added things to the game. We've added more chaos, more, like there's, star seed things, galactic things. We've added so many levels, boom, all at once. So we're obviously ready for it. But yeah, there's definitely a lot a lot going on for everyone. Do you feel, what's your go-to? Do you combine all the tarot, numerology, astrology together if you're having a day where you feel you need to get back into alignment, or is there anything you really, go to?
Yeah, well, I do have a morning routine every morning, and it's a few things. But I do a meditation just to kind of like bring myself a little bit of peace and silence that's how I start my day. And I do a tapping session on, whatever feels top of mind. And then because I'm a big believer, like, as you mentioned, um, when I started learning tarot in this lifetime, it's very possible that I read tarot in previous lifetimes, because tarot to me is like a second language. I joke sometimes that I speak two languages. I speak English and I speak tarot. So anything the tarot deck has for me, I understand it. We have like a very strong connection. So after I do my meditation and my tapping, what I do is I pick a card of the day and I pick a charm of the day. And these two kind of give me a little bit of an idea of what I might expect today. And then, what I do is I usually take a picture of it, because I come back to it later in the day, and I just ask myself, like, well, what didn't I pick up on this morning, or what learning is available for me now that I've, gone through all of, through the lens of this tarot card for the day. And I find it to be very helpful. So, and I don't use these as predictive tools. I don't use them to like tell me how to live my day. I use these tools, tarot and numerology and all of the modalities that I use, as mirrors. Because what tarot really offers you is a reflection on what's happening internally. And numerology gives you timing, like what season you're in, what's being asked of you, things like that. So when you combine that with intuition, it becomes actionable. Like, it becomes something that you can, take into to motion. And it offers you not a way to predict what's going to happen, but some perspective on what's actually happening. Because like you said, sometimes something will happen and we'll get all bent out of shape, or like, I'm going to blame you for the red wine spilling on my white sweater, or whatever it is. And maybe it could be like, okay, what's another way for me to experience this mishap, or this thing that happened? Like, instead of getting angry, how else might I show up in this moment? And, I feel as though I'm always inviting in compassion. I'm always inviting in some type of learning. Like, what is the lesson? What is this moment about? And I'm always looking for like symbols and messages in that way, to kind of just give me clues, like breadcrumbs on the trail, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that. That's super helpful. So, because we're kind of, a lot of people are talking about new Earth at the moment, 5D, whatever you want to call it. But we've got so many blocks and belief systems and patterns that have been, lingering within. I mean, within the DNA, within the subatomic particles. It's we but it doesn't need to stay that way. So we were kind of talking about exploring ways to shift belief systems. So do you have, what do you do for clients and things when you can see a belief that's stuck and it's not moving, they're not moving forward? What would you recommend?
Well, first, I want to just go back to what you mentioned about New Earth, because I don't see New Earth as a
Mm.
place. It's a kind of like a concept. It's like how we live. So it's how we make decisions, how we respond instead of reacting, like just as I was mentioning before. It's how we trust ourselves more. So it's not about escaping, it's about being more present in it. So, how I invite people, and this is kind of like when people feel or think, I like to use the word they think they are stuck. But they're not actually stuck. What they are is they are in what I call a transition. They are moving from this old version of themselves with like maybe old patterns and old habits and old scripts that we tell ourselves into a new way, maybe a better way. Like this way is no longer serving it. So almost like how last year you mentioned it was a 9 year, but it was also the Chinese astrology year of the snake. And what does a snake do? It has a skin that it sheds. So last year also was asking us to shed our skin. I mean, and maybe there's still some shedding that needs to be done, or maybe this is something that you have been doing since last year. So sometimes people feel stuck because they're maybe mid shed, so to speak. And it's important to just it's not about like the timing. Like if you are stuck, don't be like, oh, looking at your watch or looking at the calendar saying, I'm not on time. No, no, no. There is no perfect time. It's all unfolding. And so what I would invite clients or people that are looking for advice on what happens when they feel stuck. And the thing is to just lean into the moment and show up, like being present and timing it's not the most important thing. Like it is like not everything has to work by the calendar. Not everything is meant to happen right now. And sometimes it's an evolution. It's slow.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, being in the now, being in that present moment, because everyone says that all there is now. Because when you're trying to get to a future, you're never going to get to a future. It's always going to be now. So we're always kind of looking in the distance of something that we want, and we're looking at it as though we haven't received it yet. But it's so beneficial to look at the now and just feel it in the now. What does that thing feel like? What does that person feel like? How do you feel when you've already got the thing that you want? It's like you're saying with New Earth, it's just getting into the frequency of what you want and what you want to create for the world. It's like, for anyone that's watched The Matrix, Neo in The Matrix tries to run away from Mr. Smith, from Agent Smith, whatever his name is. He tries to run away from him. You're running away from the Matrix. And then he realizes that he is the Matrix. And so he becomes Mr. Smith. So he becomes everything. And so then he can create what he wants. So yeah, it's just kind of twisting those old beliefs. There's a lot of belief systems we don't even know that are there half the times. I'd really recommend to everybody now is to really tune in to, how you're feeling. What are you thinking? Like observe those thoughts. Those old, money doesn't grow on trees, or, there's all those sayings. Actually wrote a whole list of those sayings, that you can't get everything you want. And there's just so many old fashioned sayings, that are just, ingrained in our
And
DNA.
they don't align.
Mm.
And you feel like these are like your old stories. So how do you like I love how you're asking me like how do I start my day and how do I move into this? What are your go-to techniques? Like what do you do to when you feel like these sayings? Like how do you flesh them out?
Yeah, see, I felt like I always felt like I didn't really want to be here because, like in this reality, there was too many people suffering. Like I always used to see pictures of children suffering and war, and I just didn't understand it. I could feel so much energy. I could feel pain. I just felt everything. So I would just live up in my, I don't know if it was my third eye, my crown chakra, and I would just be floating. I'd just be like, floating around and not really like manifesting things, but, obviously manifesting things I don't want and manifesting things that I did want. But because I wasn't grounded enough, I wasn't really creating the life of my dreams. Because how can you create if you're not actually here, if you're not grounded? So I really had to work on grounding and just being present, being in the now. I went to heaps of workshops, retreats, did chanting meditation with a guru where I just keep leaving my body. I don't know if that really helped me grounding. um, Mindfulness walks, looking at leaves. But now my day to day, I mean, I still like essential oils where I have like a root chakra spray. I used to sell crystals, so I've got crystals everywhere. I'll just touch a crystal. The guides are telling me now, like, to do that, like you were saying, tapping. So tap my chest and just say ground, ground, like command, ground. And yeah, there's just, just making sure I take my shoes off and, or, like I always say, because you're in New York, I always say people that aren't, at the beach or in a forest, I just tell them to touch a plant, just visualize being grounded, visualize being in nature. But to be honest, I had someone, Ash, the other day on the show, and she was in New York, and she said she feels the most grounded ever in New York, which I was so impressed by because New York's a very energetically busy place. So, yeah.
It is, but there's also it's funny when people come to visit sometimes and they go to Times Square and they think, wow, this is insane. How do you live here? Well, I don't live in Times Square. Like that's not the energy of where I live. And I live closer to, I'm actually in between two parks, and one of the park, Riverside Park, is right on the water. So sometimes I just grab my dog and we go down to the water, and it is so peaceful. I mean, it's a little bit breezy. So, on really cold days, it's probably not the best place to go, but there are trees and there is grass and there's water. So it's like you can get all the elements, you can get all of the parts of nature. You just need to really be mindful of it because, yes, it is a little bit of a concrete jungle. And if you don't make conscious efforts to go where there is spots of nature, it can be a grind.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've always wanted to visit. So maybe one day, because
Come.
yeah, like I said, I'm in New Zealand. So hopefully one day I'll make it to New York. I suppose I just have to put that one, lock that one in.
Yes. Put that on your list.
Definitely,
Exactly.
definitely. So often I'll talk about using your intuition to determine what is actually excitement rather than anxiety, because sometimes we will, if we're not quite in alignment and we don't quite tune into that, the divine inspiration or the inspired action, sometimes we go through life thinking we're excited, we're actually anxious.
Right.
Yeah, so you were talking about the difference between kind of intuition, ego, and fear. So sometimes we get powered by fear, but I feel like it would be really nice to shift that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I believe that we either come from a place of fear, and a lot of our actions are fear driven. Like sometimes like examples of fear are like, if I don't do this one thing, like if I don't say yes, this is like kind of like the people pleasing type of thing. It's like if I don't say yes and I don't like, um, you know, if I don't agree with them or be their friend or show up in the way they want me to, they're not going to invite me back. They're not going to like me. They're going to say bad things about me. I won't have any friends. Or, at work, it's like if you don't take on that extra work, then you're going to be deemed like, quote unquote, a difficult employee. Or, maybe in your family, if you are just, not maybe extending yourself to them in the way they would like, you get deemed like the black sheep of the family or kind of, the difficult child or something like that. And I feel like all of these are attached to fear. And like, you're like, oh, I've been labeled as this thing that I don't want to be. And it can show up in a very like, very direct and like churning and aggressive way. I mean, fear is loud, it is persistent, and it's argumentative. Whereas when you come from a place of love, love is calmer and quieter. And that is where I believe your intuition lives. It lands, it's clear. And like, so when you are in alignment, and I almost, liken this to like the idea of of a fish swimming, fear is the fish swimming against the current, and everything is just hard. And then if you are that fish that swims along with the current, everything's just much easier. And unfortunately, in the world, sometimes we tell ourselves the things that we need to do in order to be loved, in order to get attention, in order to get the promotion, in order to be chosen or liked or whatever the thing is. We have to choose the path of fear. And this is where I kind of have a little fork in the road with this, because if you are able to come from a place of love and you can have compassion for yourself, if you can be patient for the times when you are maybe not perfect, we get back to that word that you mentioned in the beginning, and just accept where we are. I call this like radical acceptance, like accepting who and where you are. And it just makes life so much easier and so much more fun and playful. And this is the path to you loving yourself, which opens up all the doors. Like once you love yourself, then you're lovable for everyone, which is really a really special place to be. So I feel as though intuition is connected to all those good things. If we can release the fear and lean into the love.
Beautiful, definitely. I love that. And yeah, the analogy of the fish swimming against the current is always a good one. And then sometimes we'll add the river stones and the river, and the river stones are representing, blocks and belief systems and patterns, like big energetic clumps, which, cause dis-ease and then disease. So, yeah, we do have a lot going on, but the thing is, it's like that the love and compassion almost melts that old energy. It melts away the old beliefs and the blocks and the limitations. And yeah, I trained in it's called Compassion Keys, and it was just all about giving yourself love and compassion. It was just so simple. There's no overthinking. It's just basic. Yeah. Why is it so, so hard to give ourselves that love and compassion? It seems crazy, but we've been brought up, with there's a lot of kind of judgment within society, but we don't need to continue that judgment. It's just, we say we can blame school education, we can blame, religion, we can blame government, we can blame, parents and cultures about the judgment, but it's time to stop blaming everybody else. It's time to empower ourselves, and it's time for us to shine our light, because we're not going to get anywhere if we keep blaming it on something.
Yeah, I agree. And this kind of gets me to like what I feel is like one of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they wait for certainty before they make a move. Like they don't, like if they're like the only one doing it, like if they're the only one, following their intuition, or they're the only one going that route of compassion and love, they're like, where is everybody? Like it's I think that what they want is confirmation that they're moving in the right direction. And that's the thing, the confirmation comes from you. The confirmation is a feeling that you have within you. And clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from action. If they can be brave enough. Like I feel like though it takes a lot of courage and it takes sometimes a willingness to be uncomfortable because the right action for you isn't always the most comfortable one.
That's such a good point because, patterns aren't shifting because we're too scared to get out of our comfort zone sometimes. But the thing is, we've got to take a look at ourselves and say, are we really comfortable? Or are we just living in fight, flight, or freeze mode and we're just stuck on repeat? It could be more comfortable when we get out of our comfort zone.
Yeah, well, I think that way, that's I want to exchange the word comfortable for familiar.
Yeah, yeah.
We are it's kind of like we've just been I call this people are kind of in autopilot. They're in default mode and they're just so used to this same, the same motions, the same thought patterns, the same way of behaving. And instead of having to think and like act out of that, it's almost just easier to follow the more well-worn path for the time being. Like for maybe for the right now, it's easier, but it doesn't get you where you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. When I look back, I thought it was easier, but it actually wasn't. I was making my life so much harder. Like it's hindsight. It always happens. But yeah, no, I feel like it's really our time to shine for sure. And it's fun being different too. Like we were just saying, I all of a sudden I decided to call my podcast because I started it on Spotify and it distributes to other places. I decided to call that one Crazy or Awakening rather than just Lily Leaf 11. And yeah, I was kind of like, why am I calling it Crazy or Awakening? But it's because now I've decided it's okay to be different. It's okay to feel a bit crazy and put yourself out there. But to be honest, a lot of the stuff you can prove a lot of the stuff that we are doing with quantum physics and you know, finally everyone's starting to wake up to that everything is energy and like it's like we're not as different or weird or woo woo anymore, which it's kind of fun and exciting, but then kind of, I don't know, I did like to be the different one.
Yeah, but I love that what you did is like, what you're doing is like, so, you had a crystal shop, like you've done a lot of different things. And I love how you decided to create a podcast about this topic that you're so passionate about. I mean, that is exactly what brought me to writing the book that I wrote because, I wanted to document not just my struggles, but also the insights that I was gaining as I let go of the beliefs that were holding me back. So I feel as though it's kind of like if you're a little bit ahead of the curve, if you're a little bit, in front of where people are and they're looking for direction, they're looking for path forward and you could be that that light bringer. You could be that person that's just saying, I've been on this path before, let me show you. I think that's wonderful what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I love how you're doing different things as well. Like, I think I heard you say you're interested in a lot of different modalities, things like that. Because, I love, I've done Reiki, I've done my Reiki training, I've done the compassion keys. There's a whole list of different fun things that I've tried: mediumship, remote viewing, spoon bending. It's like
I think that's all awesome.
all
Yes, all of those
yeah,
things.
exactly, but I'm fascinated how because, you've done, the tarot, numerology, astrology, that's a lot because I heard you saying to someone, I think, was it 8 years you spent on tarot alone? Like, wow, that's
Well, it's funny,
dedication.
but you know what? When I first started, so I found, as I mentioned, I found my intro to tarot class when I was being overworked at a job. And when I found that, it became like this really special thing for me. And it opened so many doors. It gave me a language for feelings and things that I was going through that I didn't know how to describe. And I just wanted it like for myself. Like I felt like when I first started, it wasn't like, oh, I want to learn this so I can like do this out in the world. And my original tarot teacher, I was very hungry to learn. And she taught like in spurts. Like she taught like for 6 weeks and then she'd take a few months off. And then she'd teach for 6 weeks and take a few months off. So it felt to me very stop and go. And then I found another set of teachers, their name's Walden Ruth Ann, they're wonderful, and they taught every Monday night. And so with the exception of, like, Christmas and, they like, it was, like, 48 weeks of the year, they had a class on Monday night, and what they would do is every year, they would teach the whole deck. So if you were in class with them for 1 year, you would cover the whole deck. But every year, they're like, well, this year we're approaching it from the meanings of the cards. Next year, we're going to do reversals. The next year, we're going to do the titles of the card. The next year, we're going to talk about color in the cards. So it was like every year, so what I just kept doing is I would go every Monday night. And as long as I was learning, I kept going. So I went for 8 years, like every Monday night, and when I finished, I know that deck upside down, inside out, color, symbols, titles, like astrological associations. How I got interested in the other modalities is, yes, I started with astrology, but that was my grandmother. That wasn't like a formalized class at the time. Learning tarot introduced me to numerology. I'm like, "Ooh, I better study numerology." Then I realized that there were astrological associations with every card. I was like, "Ooh, I better get back into astrology now." And then I realized that there was symbols in all the cards, and all the symbols have meanings, and all the colors have meanings. So I was like, "Oh, I better know this, I better know that." And they all have functions, they all have titles, and it's like all of these things, it just sent me off in different directions. And then I started speaking at conferences. And I remember I was at one conference in Texas. I was speaking, and at lunchtime, I sat next to another speaker who was a professional palmistry. He was a teacher and he was a professional palmist. He was really wonderful. And after I had lunch with him, he was like, I'm teaching a class on this. He goes, you should take my class. And I was like, yeah, where do I sign up? So anyway, I signed up for his class and now I do palmistry. So I feel as though I am very curious and I feel as though like you have like, they say like you have a gateway drug and it's like you get kind of like drawn into it. And then the next thing you know, you're like, oh, well, I'm already here. I may try this. I may as well try that. So I feel as though my drug these divinatory modalities. I go in, I started with astrology and then tarot and then numerology. So it's like all these different things. And I just want to know it all. But I didn't start reading until I had been in class for like 8 years. And my husband, who works in finance, he's all about making money. He says to me, let me ask you something. He said, Can you like do a reading for someone? And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I can totally do a reading for someone." He was like, "But do you?" Like, and I'm like, "Yeah, in class, like after we have a learning, like we always have like a reading section. I was doing reading swaps." And he's like, "Well, would you want to do readings?" Like he didn't want to like push me into it, but I was like, "Yeah, I would totally do readings." And he's like, "All right." So we went to like a tea salon in New York City. And I introduced myself to the owner at the tea salon and I said, listen, I'm a tarot reader. I don't know if you have any need for a tarot reader. She says, you know what? I don't have a tarot reader. She said, why don't you come in on Saturday? She goes, I'll sit you at the bar. I'll give you a cup of tea. And then when people come in, I'll say, there's our tarot reader. Do you want her to come over? And if they say yes, then you go over, you do whatever you do, and you charge them whatever you charge them. And then at the end of the day, you just give me 20%. And I would walk out of there with like $500 in my pocket. And my husband's like, "That's what I'm talking about." So that's kind of like where it all started. I was like, "Oh, I could do this." And then I started doing parties and events, and now I do retreats and I teach classes and I do a lot of different things because, I'm a life path 5 and I like to do a lot of different things. So I'm a little I'm just like I don't like to have the same day twice. I want to like keep it kind of I want to keep it curious. I want to keep learning. I love working with all different people and this is kind of what it's evolved into. But it just started with me wanting to know it.
Oh my gosh, that was so awesome. I love that. I was actually seeing a tree, like there was all these tree branches that were growing as you were showing me. They were just so interconnected. They were coming from the same tree, like starting
And
with
that's how my
yeah.
readings are.
Yeah.
When I do readings, it's like sometimes my reading, I'm like, okay, well, here's the astrology. I'm like, and there's like, my brain, it's like it's processing everything all at once. And sometimes it comes out, and they're like, well, where did you get that? I'm like, well, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Like, I feel like I'm pulling things from all over the place. So, like my readings, when people say, oh, I've gotten a tarot reading before, I said, you probably haven't gotten one like I do a reading, because my readings include everything, and whatever comes to me, it comes right through me, and I say it. So, and I read on the positive. Like, I'm not here to predict doom and gloom. I'm here to give you information that can help you get to that next place, that can help you see yourself more clearly and help you trust yourself just a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm all about that, bringing in the positive for sure. Oh, you sound so much fun, honestly. I love that, like totally multi-dimensional. You're pulling from all of your higher aspects of self. Like you trained for lifetimes for this, but it's almost like in another way, you're just seeing how the energy flows through because that when you're in this earth reality, it's a more denser it's like a slower energy, so you have to go from linear time, you have to go from A to B type thing, whereas higher realms you just manifest instantaneously and you just know it and you've just done it and it's already happened type thing. Whereas here, we're kind of going a lot slower with the energy process. So it's like the guides are showing me through those branches, you're just seeing how each thing is linking, each thing is being created and it's linking with that person, it's linking with like your higher self. It's really cool. It's hard to put it into words, but love it. I love it. And I think it's so
Thank
much
you.
fun learning new things as well and not just being stuck with one modality because I mean that's totally fine if people are into that and they're totally passionate about it. But sometimes it's nice just to evolve and try new things and you'll realize that you swing right around again. You realize it's completely connected. And yeah.
Exactly, because they all are connected. Just like, we were in, universal year 9, and it was also the year of the wood snake. And now we're in a universal year 1, and it's the year of the fire horse. Like, I feel as though it's really helpful to see what's happening in other ways of describing what this year is about. So you can get a vibration, you can get an energy. And very often, if you've been feeling it, you're not wrong. Like, just like I mean, you're very sensitive and you're able to pick up on a lot. I love these visuals that you have. And I connect so much to that tree. I'm a Taurus, and I like see myself very much as like a tree with deep roots. So I love how you described me as this tree. It felt very, very connected. So thank you for that.
I love that. It's beautiful. Yeah, no, this your tree, what they're showing me is so beautiful. Yeah, and it has these deep roots, and I think that's what they're kind of showing me is the past lives, parallel lives of where you are deeply rooted. And this has been your passion and has brought you joy. And you've also brought that to other people. You've brought joy to others and other lives and this life. And for me, they were showing me last night how almost you doing what you do is almost like how people they'd play a game of cards. They'd for fun, they'd just be sitting there like playing cards, and that would just be a completely normal thing to do is play cards. And that's what they're showing me. For you, this is so normal. This is like every day. Every day I just know how to do this. This is just me. This is what we do. I just know how to like it's fun and it's my flow state. It's my alignment. Yeah. So you definitely you definitely here on your path for sure. Yeah, it's super exciting. The palmistry sounds pretty cool as well. I love all of these things. So how do you train in palmistry? I wouldn't even know where to start.
Well, you know what? It's a system. just like any other, like, astrology is a system. There, it's very structured. The tarot deck is very structured. Numerology, I mean, all of these modalities have a structure. And so in palmistry, each of the fingers has a different energy and that it's connected to. And then what you do is you're also looking at the lines of the hand. And it's funny. The reason why I began talking to this palmistry presenter at this conference in Texas was because so we were at this huge conference in Texas and they had a big a big room, like a ballroom where they had people selling jewelry and, essential oils and books and all this stuff. And they also had readers there. And one of the people that I became friendly with at the conference said to me, "Oh my God, you have to get a palm reading from the woman in the ballroom. She's fantastic." So I was like, "Oh, cool." Like I always like to get a reading if I'm somewhere and it's an opportunity. So I went into the ballroom and seeked this woman out and I sat down with her and she looked at my palms and she said to me, "Wow," she said, "I've never seen palms like these before." And I was like, "Okay." And she wasn't sure, like she was a little bit stumped with how to read a few of the parts of my palm. And I was like, "Are you new to palm reading?" And she said, "No, no, I've been doing this for quite some time." And I said, "And you've never come across palms like mine?" I felt like I'm like, am I an alien? What's going on?" And so anyway, I said to her, I said, "Do you have a teacher?" And she said, "Yes, yes." And I said, "Well, do you want to take pictures of my hands and do you want to send them to your teacher and then maybe send me an email and tell me what she thinks?" And so she did take pictures of my hands, but I never heard from her again. But when I went to lunch the next day and sat next to this guy, he said to me, "How's it been going?" And I said, "Well, knowing that you're the palmist, I said, I had a very weird experience yesterday." And he said, "What happened?" And I explained what happened. I said, "I went to get this palm reading and she didn't know how to read my hands." And he said, "Show me your hands. Show me what the problem was." So I showed him and I explained what the problem where she hit up against it. And he gave me exactly the answer that I didn't understand. And from then on, I was like, there's a system. And I felt like he was able to explain that to me, which then made me realize he's the teacher for me. I'm like, if he can explain it for someone, I mean, maybe this woman showed up yesterday and started reading palms. I don't know. But it was comforting to me. And I feel as though that's why I do all of these things that I do. Like, so I wanted to learn from him so I can see things in people's hands. Like, he didn't teach me only about the fingers and the lines. He taught me something called gesture. And gesture is like, ever do that stick 'em up pose? And like, if you put your hands like this, he explained how to read somebody just from their gesture, just from when they do the stick 'em up pose. You can read just kind of like some general traits and characteristics about them. And we were starting to do it. Like what we would do is we would cut out like pictures of celebrities that were like waving like in People magazine or something. And we're like, what's going on with this celebrity? Or like we would kind of like that's how we would do it in the class. And it was super fun. But he taught me a different way. And it started me getting interested in watching people's body language and watching how people like, are they hunched over? Are they sitting up straight? Do they look you in the eye or do they look down to the ground or, in another direction? It got me to start looking at people in a different way. So when I would read them, I wouldn't just be reading their cards. I'm reading their energy. I'm reading their posture. I'm reading, their gestures and like how they move themselves through the world. And these were just all these different ways to read people. And that just kind of gave me another tool, so to speak. So anyway, it's so how you read palms is by looking at the finger, the hands, and also the lines in them. And there is a system, just like any other modality, which is nice to know. You could learn that.
Yeah, that sounds super fun. Yeah, and oh, honestly, it's awesome. But the guides were kind of showing me with that lady. Yeah, you were very high. You're very high frequency. So she was more reading within the human realms, whereas you're like the high frequency being coming from a very high point of consciousness with more love, more light. And so for her, yeah, like it is like you are from out of this world type thing, like
I
out of this
felt it.
universe, because it's just a very high frequency. So she was only used to the more the human, it's very hard to explain, but it was more looking at the human auric field, whereas your auric field is just like, woo, like it's so like, type thing. So I think it was just a lot for her. Like she just wasn't at that level of being able to read your expanded consciousness and awareness and energy. Yeah. Super cute. I
Well,
mean,
that makes me feel better. It's funny, like, when you were describing that, it made me think of, like, in Harry Potter, they call them muggles,
oh,
you know? I'm like, "She's used to reading for muggles,"
no.
so,
Yeah, it's very hard not to be offensive sometimes. But it's just because you've been playing in this world for a long time as well, so you've expanded your consciousness out again. Because everybody is expanded consciousness. Everybody is incredible, but they've just kind of compacted themselves into belief systems, and forgotten how incredible they are. But you've remembered, and you're bringing in all of these, like you called them tools, and that's what sometimes I would say. They are tools that help us, but they're also fun and exciting, and
Oh, yeah.
they're like, ooh, intriguing and interesting, because like, if we didn't have anything, it might be kind of boring. I mean, I know there's like people say it's a permission slip to have, angel cards or crystals, or have all of this stuff. And we can do it without it, but it's fun. Why not?
It is fun. It is
Yeah.
fun. It's true.
Yeah.
So, and it's like everyone has permission. So if
Mm.
anybody's hasn't, explored it and is interested in it, this is your invitation. Go. And this is a great time to do it, to connect with something and just pick whatever chooses you, whatever speaks to you. There is like you do completely different type of work, but you get answers too. And that's why I'm so drawn to what you do. It's so amazing to me how you're just able, like you have these visions. It's absolutely glorious. I love it.
Yeah, well, you really need to believe in yourself as well, and just be open-minded. And you're all drawn to different things, and it probably depends on, past parallel lives as well. Like I'm so into crystals. I'm always holding a crystal, and I had my channeler say I was a crystal in a past life. So, like a
Like that
giant
makes sense.
a giant crystal, which was like there was 5 crystals, these huge, what are those, what are those stones called? Where there's just big pillars of crystals. And there was just beings would come to us and ask us questions as crystals. So we weren't just like a rock. We actually had, the wisdom within us as well. So it kind of it makes sense if, why I like crystals.
And it's so funny because you had a way to communicate that. And also, as soon as you pick up a stone, you get a message. Like you speak the language of crystals. That's pretty amazing.
Exactly. I tune into crystal consciousness, but the thing is, it's none of us need it, but it gets us kind of on a path as well of unlocking these new gifts. Well, not new gifts, these gifts that we already have that we've forgotten. So I started off holding crystals, meditating with crystals, and then I started seeing more visions. Just the more I quietened my mind, the more I could see. And then I started doing automatic writing. So I just started typing out anything like, some people call it downloads, just receiving information. I just started typing it, and then I could see more. And then I just keep practicing. You just got to keep practicing with everything, keep learning, keep growing, keep being open minded. And then I just started channeling by myself. I was like, I don't need automatic writing anymore. I still love a crystal, but if I if someone took all my crystals away, I could still do it by myself. It's like,
But
um,
that's how you build up to it. I mean,
yeah.
this is like anything. It's like you're creating a practice, and the more you practice, the more it becomes your regular way of
Mm.
being. And then, like you said, you don't need the supports anymore. You are strong enough now and experienced enough to do it on your own. I mean, that's I feel like that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, exactly, but then it's still fun. It's still fun to
And
bring
keeping it fun.
it.
It has to be fun. Agreed. Because life is too heavy and there's too many things going on. Like you have to find spaciousness and ease and joy here. And it seems like you are a very calming, very centered, strong, foundation, which is something that I'm sure you've worked on for quite some time.
Yes, I have. And it's still a work in progress. But,
Yes.
like we said, there is no perfection. To me, yeah, it's just too boring to be perfect. I just don't even understand what perfect is because with this many souls on Earth, not one of us is the same. So what's perfect to one person is not perfect to another. So
And I feel like that is our secret sauce. Like
exactly.
I try to explain, sometimes with clients that feel like there's so much competition or there's so much comparison or there is this idea of perfectionism, and try to explain like this life is you against you. Like all you're doing is trying to become a better version of yourself than you are right now, trying to become more knowledgeable, trying to become more open-hearted, more compassionate, more patient, whatever it is that you're looking for more of, and that's your barometer.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I just start off with thinking, well, I am already perfect because I am all that is. I am, like if you tune in and you look at energy at a subatomic level, at a quantum level, everything's connected. So I already know it all. I am it all. I can be it all. So I'm actually already perfect, to be honest. So it's just fine tuning what brings me joy, what brings me happiness, what are my interests, what excites me, what do I want to expand on? Do I want to evolve, or it's fine to de-evolve? Is that even a word? De-evolve? I don't know.
Devolve,
Yeah,
maybe.
devolve. Yeah, yeah, devolve. We can be whatever we want to be. I think we just put so much pressure on ourselves of being, of knowing our soul purpose, of knowing why are we here and what are we meant to be doing? And I'm not making enough money, or I'm not, pretty enough, or I'm not good enough. It's like, just give up, everybody. just,
Yeah, but I
just
think that sometimes
relax.
that comes from like our early programming. Like I think that, some of us like we are trained to believe that there's going to be like a knight in shining armor that's going to come. Like I feel like that that we watch Disney and we see all these princesses and castles. It's like we have been kind of sold a bill of goods that isn't actually how the world works. And what we need to do is, come to the reality of what our lives are and who we want to be. Like you said, like there's things that I'm sure that you've reinvented yourself, like, many, many times. It makes me think of, growing up, I used to think like Madonna and Taylor Swift, like all these singers, they're always reinventing themselves. Lady Gaga, they're always reinventing themselves. And that's magic. Like we have that ability to reinvent ourselves, especially like as we're moving into this next version of us. It's like step in and, begin again. So what?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Just be yourself. But I mean, these days, I don't even celebrities. I mean, you don't even know what's going on there. There's some.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I don't know.
Just from where I'm sitting on my couch, that's what I see. But once again, it's
Yeah.
very true.
There's some interesting stuff, and this is the thing: these people we've looked up to. Maybe we need to start to look within ourselves now and realize that we didn't need to look up to all these random individuals. We just need to look within and see how awesome and amazing we truly are. Because we're all here. We are all here for a reason because we are important, because we are special, because we are loved. And the universe isn't on a budget, it's completely abundant. It's only our thoughts or beliefs that stop us or slow down our creations or what we want to bring into our lives. But no, I think it's time to shine. I think we deserve it now. We need to um, just create more of who we are and what we want within our true selves rather than what we think everybody else wants us to be. Who do we want to be now?
Who do we
Um,
want to be? That's a
yeah,
great question. That's a
yeah,
great place to start.
yeah, definitely. So your book, The Way Within, Igniting Your
Yeah.
Intuition and Sacred Tools. Tell me about that.
So, my main motivation, for writing the book was to offer hope to people who might feel alone or as you say, crazy when going through when going through big changes. I want readers to know that, transformation is possible and that the very experiences that we fear or hide can actually be openings to something much greater. So for me, the heart of the book is about moving from self-doubt and limitation to a place of trust and possibility. So I share practical tools and also personal stories in the hopes that the others who are reading it will find encouragement on their own journeys. You know, like I had my own journey and I found my way back, and they are on a journey of their own. We're all on our own journeys. And this is like an invitation to finding a way back or way to a new way of being. So I go into all of these in my books, but, one thing that I learned is like the stories that we tell ourselves really do shape our reality. So when we start to question those stories, like we're not enough or, we're, comparing ourselves or whatever, or this perfectionism thing, once we question those stories and the way that we think, everything changes.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm keen to read. Okay, so have you got more than one book, or you just had the one for now?
So actually, I wrote this one book, and the book that is called The Way Within because it's about tarot, numerology, and
Mm.
charms, and it's about my story. But I'm actually writing a second book right now, and it's kind of like the precursor to it. It's funny how I wrote The Way Within, and then I thought, you know what? Yes, I learned tarot and numerology and charms and all this stuff, but before that happened. I had a natal chart, and I was given this astrological chart, like, when I was born, all the planets were in whatever position they were in, and they had a message. That was like my blueprint. That's my blueprint. So, the book that I'm gonna be, finishing up and hopefully putting out to the world, I'm thinking it'll be maybe June it'll be out, is gonna be about astrology and how you can use this. So it's coaching, a little bit of coaching work, like values work, and, what's my legacy? Who is my future self? All these things. Also tapping into where to find the answers to this in your natal chart and how to use these tools, the same thing, they are as a tool to, to create abundance in your life, to be, the version of yourself that maybe you weren't able to see while you were kind of following the rules of these role models that raised you.
Yeah, I love that. I was seeing the blueprints, kind of seeing everybody's blueprints of like, everybody. It's funny, everyone kind of choosing where they were gonna be and when they were gonna be born and all of this stuff. But interestingly, I heard somebody say the other day, like, I think it was a doctor or something saying that there's a lot of pregnant women not wanting to give birth on certain dates because they don't want their child to be in a certain zodiac sign. I don't know if that's good for the baby.
I know. I'm like, wow. Well, I don't know. But it's funny because when I was pregnant with my second child, my second daughter, I have an older daughter. I had a coworker who had she basically, we both had the same due date, but her mother and my father both had the birthday of December 18th. And she's like, I want my baby to be born on my mother's birthday. She wanted December 18th. And I was like, listen, I'm not gonna go get induced and have this whole thing happen. I'm like, I'm gonna do this the natural way. So anyway, she had her baby on the 18th because she was induced and she made sure that, she delivered that day. And I had my baby on December 20th. So, and I'm very happy with the December 20th birthday. It's worked out fine. And she's
Oh.
very much who her chart says she is. So
Yeah, well, I was wondering that. Does that I mean, I suppose it can't mess with your chart because it's always meant to be, but it's interesting really to think, are you how much are you controlling or how much is, I mean,
well, and I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, people are, they're harvesting their eggs and then they're getting them implanted and then they're deciding, if they want, male or female. There's a lot of ways
yeah.
that you can influence that now. But I feel as though there are so few things in this world that are just left to the universe that I left the birth of my children to the universe.
Yeah, that feels good to me too. So it's already stressful giving birth. I don't need any more pressure to get on a certain zodiac sign. But,
I know,
no,
I know.
your books sound amazing. Yeah, exciting. A new
Thank you.
book is coming in. I love it. Very
Yeah,
excited.
and it's funny, like, I wrote my first book because I felt like this is the resource that I wish I had. And, so it was kind of like a gift that I gave to myself in a little bit of a way, but I and it kind of like just happened. Like it was like I needed to write that book and I kind of sat with it for a little bit and then I realized I'm like, I think I have something else to say. I feel like there's so many books out there. I'm not looking to redo anything that's already out there. I have a couple of clients that are like, write a tarot book. And I'm like, what, you want me to go through every card and what I see? I'm like, I have a YouTube channel for that. And there's a million books out there that write, what they think of the card. I feel as though there's a lot of information out there. I don't need to be like another voice in the crowd. If I have something unique to say, then absolutely. And that's kind of like what happened. So I didn't always envision myself as being an author, but the fact that I did write that book, I felt like, wow, I really enjoyed the experience. It was definitely a lot of work. And so I kind of knew what I was getting into and I felt like, you know what? I do have something to say. I don't know if there'll be a third book, but I'm very happy with where we are right now. How about you? Have you ever been interested in writing a book?
Oh, well, I did kinda write a couple, but now I'm not. It's all a bit awkward now because because they have a few quotes from, like, Deepak Chopra, things like that, and now he's on the files, and I'm just like, "Oh," like, do I go through and take out these quotes from these people that I thought were kind of magical, and now we're but it's all part of this fun Earth experience, isn't it? For sure. But I
Yes.
I did like how you were saying to be unique as well, like with your book. You're not trying to do what everyone else has done or be like everybody else. You're kind of it's like you're niching down into what is what are your, what's your interests, what are your gifts, what you really enjoy rather than thinking, oh, I need to do this because that's what everybody else is doing. And I think it's always fun. Like even in business, it's fun to niche down and find more what resonates with you rather than as well, not thinking about what everyone else has done.
Right.
Mm.
And it's funny, when I first started writing the book, I actually did not tell anyone that I was writing a book because I didn't know how long it was going to take for it to kind of fully, be done. And just not having that extra level of stress, having people ask about it and having to explain, where I am with it and what my idea is. I'm like, you know what? When it's ready to come out into the world, they'll know. And I actually, was able to publish it on my grandmother's birthday. So that was like my big goal. I'm like, "You know what? I just her birthday is April 28th, and I'm like, I want it out on April 28th. So I feel like this second book, I'm a little bit less superstitious and controlling on how it all happens. I'm like, when it's done, and when it's ready, it'll be ready, and then I will let the world know. But I feel like now that I've kind of had my first experience with it, it's kind of fun to talk about it a little bit because I'm excited about the topic.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's super exciting. And yeah, I was going to ask about your YouTube channel as well, but you mentioned that. So you do some tarot and things on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I have a free newsletter that I put out every week, and on the newsletter, I'll either talk about like the new moon, or maybe a charm, or I'll talk about something, the spring equinox, or I'll pull a tarot card. And I mean, I've been doing my newsletter, I don't know, for at least 12 years, for a long time. And what I do is, for most of my um most of my newsletters that have a tarot card, I record a video. And I'm like, okay, this is the card, and then I take them through, the symbolism in the card, the meaning of the card, what it is reversed, what it is upright, how it shows up in a reading, kind of thing. So when you're done watching my video, you will know this card. And I attach that usually to the newsletter. So people that get the newsletter, they can click on something in the newsletter and it will take them to my YouTube channel. But I probably have, at this point, over 120 videos in my YouTube channel. And most of them are tarot cards, but some of them are about the equinox. Some of them are about the universal year. Them are about like the year of the fire horse. I think made one about. So depending, but usually it's related to whatever topic that I'm talking about in my newsletter that like spurred me on to be like, this has to be videoed. This has to be talked about more. So I'm very friendly. I'm very off the cuff, just like this.
Mm,
And I just want to add to people's experience. I just like, if you, and some cards in the tarot deck, people are very confused by. And I always say a lot of these cards are very misunderstood. So what I like to do is, when I start, I'm like, this is a very misunderstood card. And I explain why. And then I try to give them, here's what it really is. And here's how it got there. And like, I try to give a little bit of numerology. Like, I'll give as much information as I can. And I love it when people comment, because it's like, you finally made this card understandable to me. Thank you. I feel like I love when people comment, because I feel as though that's all that I want to know, that I am making things a little bit clearer, making things a little bit easier, because I love the tarot. And I think that it's sometimes people feel like it's too complicated, and it's like, oh, it's such an investment of time. I don't want to do that kind of thing. And I feel as though it has been the best investment of my time. And I have spent a lot of my time doing it. And I would do it all again if I had the chance.
ooh, I love that. Yeah, that sounds like a fun YouTube channel for sure. I did have a look, and it did look awesome. And the year of the fire horse, yes. So that's us.
That is us. That is us. And like, so, fire is hot and ready to
Woo!
go. I mean, think about how fast fire moves. And then a horse. Like, I feel like
Mm.
the horse energy is like the energy of maybe a horse that doesn't have any reins or saddle on it. And imagine that this horse is in the barn. And then the horse realizes that the barn door has been left open. Now, when this horse gets free from that barn, is it just kind of like going out slowly, poking around, or is it going out like a bullet? Like, this horse is like, I'm free, like, let's go. So I feel like that is the energy. It's like this horse is on fire. It is shooting out of that barn, and it is moving quickly. So this is a very energetic year. This is a year full of momentum and speed and energy. So it's an exciting year. And but I feel like it's also important not to like leap before you look, because it's very fast moving. And like, I like to use metaphors, and I always say, he who leaps before he looks sometimes winds up in a pool that has no water, kind of thing. It's like, you want to make sure that you are on the right track. But it's an exciting year, and it's a year that we finally are getting out of our own way.
Yeah, definitely. Loving that for sure because yeah, there's just been so much going on, but it's Yeah, it's kind of like knowing if we're ready for something as well, even though it's fire horse and we might just wanna take off and go for it. Does it align with our number, numerology or our astrology? What is it? Astrology.
Or like our life path number or our personal year number or whatever
Yeah.
the numerology is.
Yeah.
Do you have
So
like a feeling for the fire horse year?
I feel very excited. It feels like I am ready. Like I'm finally ready to do what I was meant to do. And I'm finally in alignment. Like it's almost like I was just preparing my nervous system. I was making sure that my nervous system could hold and contain what it wanted to. Well, my body, my everything, not just my physical body, my emotions, my mind, my energetic body, everything. I feel like it's building up and it's just aligning, and I feel just like I'm ready to just get out there, get going, just have more fun, have more flow, have more freedom and like abundance in a way where it's just ease. It's such ease because when we start to when we do well and we have financial freedom, we have that wellness, we have so many more opportunities coming in, which actually helps others. We end up being able to support other others and come up with such incredible solutions to things that we didn't before when we have that alignment, when we have that financial freedom, that wellness, that fun flow state. So, yeah, I feel like a lot of kind of light workers and star seeds, they're all so into serving and giving, and that is a beautiful thing, but the universe is like the toroidal field says that we need to and, receive and flow, receive and flow. So we give, but some of us don't kind of receive enough abundance and wellness. So that's when we get so many of those blockages. So yeah, I feel like it's time just for us to receive because it's not just the 1% of the world that gets to do what they want and gets to control and gets to get all the money. That's ridiculous. So it's time for us to get some stuff going, and then we can create these beautiful new things. So yeah,
I love that way of thinking, and it's true. Like, and I do think that in this line of work, there is more giving than receiving. Because I know that, like, I feel more comfortable giving than receiving. So I think that it's maybe one of the downsides of this industry. It's like it's very easy to give, and if you don't watch out, you can get, it's like you're running on empty, you're running on fumes. It's not, you have to take care of yourself. And that's how you can be better at your job, to be better at serving others by taking care of you. So it's actually like a win-win for everybody.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's time to just find that balance and that flow state because it's just things come a lot more easily when you are in that flow state and you are accepting as well. Like I said before, the universe isn't on a budget. Our suffering doesn't help others suffering. By not having enough money, it doesn't help others. It makes it harder. It creates more suffering. So, if we get into more of a flow state and accept more for ourselves, it's not like we're going to be draining the earth, but the universe is abundant. So,
It's abundant.
yeah, it's going to keep creating. It loves to create. It loves to evolve and expand and explore and just have these experiences. So, yeah, we don't need to sit here and go, no, I just need to, I need to do everything. I need to serve everybody. I need to help everyone. Look at those people. They need help. Like,
It's not
we,
that.
no, we help by helping ourselves. And then we just have so much more energy. And, if we're not stressed about paying our bills and things, we can just help so many more people because we're just like, yeah, yeah. That's no problem,
Right.
I feel good. Everything's, I'm in
It's
alignment.
reciprocal. It's like,
Yeah.
as they say, as above, so below. It's like it kind of everything is, in motion, like that infinity symbol.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So we need to get out of that lack state, get out of survival and start thriving. It is time to thrive. So you have your awesome website that people can go to,
Yes.
and you're on Instagram and
Everything
stuff.
is my name. So my
Yeah,
website is my name, Dina Beren. Instagram,
you
YouTube, it's all.
YouTube's got a couple of numbers.
It's got some numbers
Yeah,
after it, but if you put in Dina Beren, you'll
it
find
comes up. Yeah,
me.
cool, awesome. And I'm going to add you as collaborator as well, so
Perfect. Thank
everybody will
you.
see that. But yeah, everything will be down below for everybody to check out. Oh, thank you so much. Honestly,
Uh,
this has
this was
been
great. It was so great
lovely.
talking to you and hearing your stories and just connecting with you. It was really wonderful.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, we'll have to catch up again. I mean, gosh, it must be late now. You're in New York. It's bedtime, past my bed in
You
New
can
York.
see my window. It's dark.
It is dark. Yeah. Or your daughter, you said your child's bedroom.
Yeah, so she's not here now.
Yeah.
So I'm not keeping her from bed.
Oh, good. That's good. I love it. Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Josie.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, bye.